And we're moving along very slowly, carefully through chapter 12. Chapter 12 is the banany, this defining who is a banany. Gabriella, did you learn Tanya before?
A little bit.
No.
So now.
Okay. So you have to understand some basic ideas that we're dealing with. Number one, everything in the world has a body and a soul. We interact with the world in order to elevate the soul within things and return them to their source where they come from, which is their spiritual source. And to do this, we're directed by our own soul, but it's not so simple because we have a challenge, because there's a basic human tendencies, which are self-seeking, selfish, pleasure-seeking, and then we have a unique feature called the Jewish soul. And the Jewish soul is a part of God and seeks to be constantly united with God and to unite everything with God. So here you have the scenario, you have all the ingredients for a civil war taking place within oneself. So the real conflict isn't in the world outside, the real conflict is in your heart between the godly soul and the human, animal, selfish soul. A person whose godly soul is totally in control is called a Sadiq, the righteous person. Most people are partially righteous. That's to say, sometimes they behave like a tzaddik, but other times their selfishness gets the better of them. And they make mistakes. It's human. You know, how the saying goes, to err is human, to make a mistake is human. To forgive is divine. Forgiveness is the divine quality. Who do we learn forgiveness from? Joseph. His brothers sold him into slavery, and when he became a king and had power over them, he did not exact revenge. He forgave them. The banany, okay, so people who make mistakes, there are thousands of gradations and levels of the kinds of mistakes that people can make. Nicole, we missed you the last few days. You know each other? How do you know each other?
Winter program.
From the winter program. Aha. Okay. Good. You're amongst friends.
Yeah, I wasn't here, Rabbi. I was away. But now I'm back.
I can see that. Well, I'm very glad. And here's Toam is also back. Okay, Toam is from Israel. And the gradations depend on multiple factors. The quantity of mistakes, the number of mistakes a person makes, the severity of the mistakes, and the different elements involved in the kinds of mistakes that a person could make. The elements, listen carefully, are basically 4 elements that make up everything. Everything in the world is made up of these 4 elements. Water. You're 75% water. Where's your bottle? Most students have a bottle on the table. Today we're dry. Air, breathing all the time. Fire, radiant fire, 98 degrees, 0.6 is the temperature. If it's 98 degrees hot, it's hot. And that's your normal temperature, is 98.6 degrees. And earth. These are the four basic elements. They are physical elements. They are also spiritual elements. And we learn in the first chapter of the Tanya, the spiritual effects when we have a predominance of any one of these elements or combinations of them. How does it affect our character? For instance, just give you an example, a person who has a predominance of fire in his character will have what we call a fiery personality. And very often people with red hair have that personality. It's reflected even in their physical being. Gingy or red-haired people tend to be very short-tempered. Like we said, they have a short fuse. What does a fuse do? Prevents fire. Okay, short fuse means the fuse blows and the fire comes out. Water. What's a dried up watermelon? What's a dried up watermelon? No interest. The sweetness of the watermelon is in its moisture. It's in the wetness. Wetness and water is a source of pleasure. Air is a source of all kinds of talk. Politicians are full of it. Hot air, we say. Combination of fire and air, hot air. And earth in the animal soul is laziness, sluggishness, depression, and so on. These four qualities also have counterparts in the godly soul. Fire in the godly soul is enthusiasm for learning and doing good deeds. Water in the godly soul is pleasure in learning, pleasure in doing a mitzvah. Air in the godly soul is using your powers of speech to learn, to teach, to help, to say an encouraging word. And earth in the godly soul is humility. So we see that depending on the intensity and the quantity and the number of combinations of these qualities, we get thousands of levels in righteous people and in wicked people. And now we're studying what is the banany. Well, the banany has not won the war. The animal soul and the godly soul are at war. They're fighting over your life, which is compared to a small city, compared to a city-state, to a country. They're fighting for the control of this country. And sometimes the godly soul wins, and sometimes the animal soul wins. A battle. If the animal soul wins a battle, the person makes a mistake, he does something wrong, he gives in to temptation, and he does a transgression. Where the whole class just walked out. One after the other. Except for Rachel. Thank you, Rachel. And Danny is still with us.
Yes, I am.
The Sadiq has won the battle. He is in control constantly, all the time. And his control is expressed in terms of what he does, what he says, what he thinks, everything. The banany does not have that control. The banany is constantly at war constantly being challenged, constantly fighting back, and never winning. Never losing, but never winning. That's the banany. Okay? When is the banany like the righteous person, a tzaddik in control? When he davens, or she, especially when they say Kriya Shema, when they say Shema in the morning, or the silent prayer, then they are just like tzaddikim. But then after davening, the inspiration dies down, the focus dies down, the lights dim, and the selfish tendencies come charging back. We're on page 184. So even though the banany never actually makes a mistake, never actually gives in, never actually does a transgression, not in action, he never says anything that would be considered a transgression, but he's always tempted. At the bottom of page 184. So despite the fact that he never allows the selfishness in his character to predominate, he never allows it to gain control of his life, nonetheless, he's not called a tzaddik. There we are at the bottom of page 184. He's not called a tzaddik because, can you read Hebrew, Gabriela? No, okay. Because what we're saying here is that in this war between the godly soul and the animal soul, the godly soul with wisdom, its power of wisdom, the highest intellectual power, is like a source of light. And the remarkable thing about light is that it pushes away darkness. And not just it pushes it away, but an extraordinary phenomenon is the darkness seems to flee. It just disappears. When there's light, the darkness disappears. So this power of light over darkness is a metaphor, provides a very, very useful and beautiful metaphor for the struggle of the godly soul with the animal soul. So the godly soul has an advantage because it's light. Light has an obvious advantage over darkness in that it pushes away the darkness and the darkness disappears automatically, effortlessly. For this dominance, she says here, of the light, which comes from the quality of wisdom. Wisdom is your highest intellectual quality. It's the tippy top of the lightning rod of your brains. It's called chachma, wisdom. So this advantage that wisdom has over darkness and over the foolishness of the animal soul, we equated a few lines back that the urgings, the selfish urgings of the animal soul are like foolish. They're very foolish because they're tempting a person to do something stupid, very, very stupid. For instance, a person wants to be healthy and lose weight and be in good shape and goes to a party and they serve all kinds of delicious things at the party and the person indulges in all these delicious things and then comes home and steps on the scale and says, why did I eat all these things? Why did I lose control of myself? Why couldn't I control myself? And similarly, if a person has money in his hand that doesn't belong to him, but he's holding it for someone, or he has to put it into an account that belongs to someone else, or to the office where he works, and he goes out for lunch, and he doesn't have exactly the amount of money he needs for the lunch that he buys. So he has this extra money that has to really go into the hands of the treasurer in the company. But he borrows, so to speak, he borrows $1 or $2, and he's going to pay back. And then he forgets. And then he doesn't remember if he paid back or he didn't pay back. So eventually he actually stole the dollars because they didn't belong to him. What led him to indulge? He said, well, he thought, I really need to have lunch. Well, you see, these are the arguments of the animal soul convincing the person to do things that will lead him to make a mistake. And that was foolish. And the foolishness can extend to more serious areas. Not just stealing a few dollars, but stealing mucho dollars. A young man that I know him since he was born. He's grown up and he got married, and he got a job working in the Diamond District on 47th Street. And there were two partners in this business, and one of them became his mentor and taught him everything about the diamond business. And he really liked him very, very much. He took him under his wing. And then it turned out that this very partner had been siphoning off money from the business to finance personal needs that he had in running his household. And then it was noticed. Hello, Esther. Esther, I'm gonna have to write your name again this week. They didn't put it down here. Esther, remind me, what's your last name? Eliav. Eliav. Okay. And he got caught. It came up. It became apparent. And so these two friends who were partners, all of a sudden, one of them had to resign from the company. He had embezzled, that's the term for it. He had embezzled several $100,000. It's just a bigger picture of the guy who dipped into the money that wasn't his to pay for his lunch. Only here he wasn't paying for his lunch. He was paying for a cooling system, for his house. Hi, Sarah. So he had to do the business, and my friend this young man, I cut his hair when he was 3 years old. I know him since he was good. So his friend had to resign from the business, and he took over. That's how I know the whole story. And the story has a happy ending, that even though the business was dissolved, the person who took the money really was an honorable person, and he paid back everything to his partner, but they couldn't be partners anymore. The senior partner the one partner felt he couldn't trust his friend anymore. So he said, so now there are two businesses instead of one business, but that's how it happens. Why did he do such a foolish thing? Why did he do such a foolish thing? Rabbi Akiva teaches us the answer. The answer is a person would never do such a thing, do a wrong thing, except for the fact that a spirit of foolishness enters into his heart. And that spirit of foolishness has many names. Another name for it is the Yetzer Hara. Another name for it is the angel of death. And another name for it is the chief high executioner. They're all different hats worn by the same angelic spiritual character in our nature, which is an angel sent by God to test us and challenge us so that we should ignore it and overcome it and stand up to the challenge. Okay? So this dominance of the light of the godly soul, expressing itself through wisdom, which is the tippy top of the lightning rod on the top of the building. The building is you, and the lightning rod is your intellect, your brains. The top of the brains is the lightning rod, the tip of the top of the lightning rod. So this advantage of light in our character, which comes from the quality of wisdom in the brains, page 185. This advantage is not a total advantage. It's not, let me use the word, an essential advantage. Essentials from the word essence. The essence of the godly soul does not overcome the essence of the spirit of foolishness, of the essence of the Yetzer Hara. Same thing. The essence of the godly soul does not vanquish, conquer the essence of the animal soul. That's why he's a banany. A tzaddik, yes, he does. In the life of the tzaddik, the essence of the godly soul controls the person's life. He doesn't do anything that Hashem himself wouldn't do if Hashem was a human being. You hear me? The tzaddik does what Hashem would do if Hashem was a human being. He's totally in harmony. He's totally in control. He's guiding the ship, which is his life, towards a godly port. He doesn't veer from the course. If there's storms, he rides through the storms, but he keeps on heading towards the goal. The banany, however, never has this great, tremendous control, which is an essential control, because the essence of his godly soul conquers the essence of the animal soul, not in the banany, however. So that's what he's saying. The control of the banany and the dominance of the banany's godly soul over the animal soul only extends not to the essence, but to the garments. Your garments, Gabriela, you're wearing garments. You're wearing a skirt, you're wearing stockings, you're wearing shoes, you're wearing a hoodie. These are your garments.
Okay.
They tell me who you are.
Right.
They reveal a lot about your priorities, about your values, about your character, what colors are your colors, right? But they're not you. They're expressions of who you are. Mm-hmm. So there are three garments that the soul expresses itself through them. These three garments are what you do. That's a garment of your soul. Your soul expresses itself through your actions, through your movements, your body movements. It's called body language. Language expresses who you are. Then there's what you say. You are what you say. You are what you eat. You are what you say. What you say tells us who you are. When I was in school, grade 9 or grade 10, we had an English teacher who made us do character analyses of whatever we studied, whether it was novels or stories or plays. How did we do it? Well, we didn't know how to do that. So our teacher taught us. You do this by reading the book and making a list as you go through of all the things that this personality that you're studying, this person does. What does he do? Make a list of the things he does. Then you get a clear picture of who he is. What does he say? You get a clear picture of what he's like. Is he smart? Is he foolish? And sometimes, if the author will let you in to know this information, the author will tell you what he thinks. Not always. In certain novels, you have to figure out for yourself what a person thinks. He just tells you the person. Sometimes, like Ernest Hemingway is a storyteller. He doesn't tell you what people think. He just tells you what people do and say. But an author could tell you what a person thinks. So these are the three garments of the soul. So in the banany, The essence of the banany's godly soul only conquers the garments of the animal soul, but does not conquer the essence of the animal soul. The essence of the animal soul remains full strength. Full strength. There was once a chassid who went to the Rebbe, I believe it was the Tzemach Tzedek, the third Rebbe of Lubavitch, and complained that he had been learning Hasidic philosophy for 25 years and he didn't feel any more refined for all that. He was still the same guy, hadn't changed a bit. He was very discouraged. Can you imagine such a thing? Here you come to Machon Layadus, you expect to change. You expect to be more refined, you expect to be more sensitive, you expect to be a better person, to behave better than you are. But after a while, you know, a deep, deep change, you begin to feel, I don't know if I really changed that much. So he said to the Rebbe, I don't feel that I changed. I learned and learned and learned and learned, and I tried and tried and tried and tried, and I don't think I changed a bit. Well, you don't commit so many mistakes like you used to, that's a change. But the Tzemach Tzedek, he was looking for some deeper, essential change in his whole character, in his whole being, in the essence of his being. The Tzemach Tzedek said, well, you know, you learned Hasidus for 25 years, but hey, you're not on Zoom now. It says right here that you're here.
Two places at once.
Oh, you're mobile. Hi, Danny. He says, but these 25 years, you always slept in a comfortable bed. And these 25 years, you always had 3 good meals a day. That didn't exactly make the comfortable bed and 3 good meals a day didn't really help you overcome your selfish tendencies. So that's the point here, that the banany controls the garments of the animal soul, the selfish garments. He doesn't let them out of the box, so to say. He doesn't let them out of the box. He doesn't let them doesn't let himself express himself through these 3 garments of what you do, what you say, what you think. So therefore, the animal soul remains full strength, even after 25 years of learning Hasidus. But the banany still, if you look at him or her, they seem to be very righteous people. They seem to be completely righteous, tzaddikim, holy people, because they don't make mistakes. They don't allow themselves to make mistakes. They're in control. Whereas wicked people do make mistakes, and that's the whole difference, you see. Righteous people never make a mistake. Wicked people do make mistakes from time to time, some more often than others, some more serious than others. I correspond with a number of people who are in jail. Some of them are on death row. They made big mistakes. But doesn't mean that they're bad people. They did some bad things. They're in trouble. But they're Jewish. They have a godly soul. They want to be connected to Hashem. And they're very sorry that they listened to their Yetzer Hara, to the spirit of folly that entered into them, to the extent that they did something so wrong that they had to be put out of circulation. Well, because our whole justice system is not what it should be. But you see, the essence of the godly soul remains a godly soul. And the essence of the animal soul remains an animal soul. So you might think, well, in prison, there are people who are really rough, dangerous people. That's right. They're not in prison because they forgot to say a bracha achreina, forgot to say an after bracha. But that's zu gesund. That's a slip. When the animal soul gets the better of a person. Rabbi Akiva tells us the rule that all these people would never have done anything bad except they lost control. The spirit of foolishness, the Yetzer Hara, entered into their hearts and told them, do it. Go do this transgression and you'll feel better. Let's say you want to take revenge on somebody. A person has a fight and you want to take revenge. You burn down their house, heaven forbid. I'm going to teach him a lesson. I'm going to burn down his house. Well, you're not allowed to do that. You end up in jail for doing something like that. But you did it. Why did you do it? Because you were so angry. Well, anger that's how the animal soul expresses itself. That's fire in the animal soul. And the godly soul won't allow it. And they have to fight over it. But if the influence of the animal soul predominates and takes control of the heart, then the person might do something terrible. The banany never allows it to happen. The godly soul always controls the animal soul, just like a cowboy in the Wild West controls a wild horse, a bucking bronco. He rides it and rides it and rides it until it doesn't buck anymore. It's a good metaphor for the struggle that goes on in our heart. Okay, so now we're back up to page 185. There's a very important point that the advantage of the godly soul, which is metaphorically like a beam of light emanating from the wisdom, the highest level of the intellect of the person, cannot overcome the essence of the animal soul, but it can overcome the garments of the animal soul, that the animal soul will never succeed in expressing itself through these garments of what it does. It will not be allowed to do what it wants, or what it says. The animal soul will not be allowed to say what it might want to say, to curse or to swear or to say words of scandal or to lie or to deceive people. Never happen. Or even to think, what do you mean? How can you control your thoughts? You have to be a thought master? Yeah. The banany, the tzaddik is a master of his thoughts, and the banany struggles to be a master of his thoughts. What does that mean? It means, we're going to see in another few lines, that when a person has a thought rising up in his mind, and he recognizes this is not an appropriate thought for a righteous person to have, for a good person, a person who wants to be beneficial to the world, a person who wants to make the world a better place, does not think like this. So what does he do? He pushes the thought out of his mind. Pushes it out. Well, let's say you see something that you're not supposed to see. Something very tempting. Something that makes you desire, that you'd like to have that. And your animal soul says, yeah, you could have that. That would be great. You would love that. Whatever it might be. You know, open any fancy magazine. You'll see the big advertisements, beautiful pictures of people living the way you would like to live, with all the luxuries and all the fancy things. And then together with it, maybe a pack of cigarettes or a bottle of vodka, a bottle of liquor, or a beautiful car, or, you know, whatever it might be. Tempting you with these pictures by saying, see, if you buy this product, you could have all these fancy things. So people who want to be fancy people, they buy these fancy things, hoping that they'll have the happy lives pictured in the picture. That's how the animal soul fools you That's a spirit of foolishness that enters the heart and causes a person to do crazy things. Okay, now, page 185. The essence and core of the divine soul. Okay, got it. We're talking about essence. Essence as opposed to garments. The essence of the godly soul does not dominate and control the essence and core of the animal soul. Because the essence and core of the animal soul comes from klippa, which is a hiding of God. So that's two things ago that we learned about the animal soul. Now, number one, that the animal soul is the spirit of foolishness that enters your heart. And at the same time, there's a second point about the animal soul, is it hides godliness. The animal soul hides godliness, it covers the light. So therefore, something that covers the light makes it dark. So you have the godly soul shining light into your heart, and the animal soul seeking to cover that light and make it not visible, darken it, dim it. Proceeding now. In the banany, the essence and core of the animal soul, now we're talking about the animal soul, the selfish soul, in its essence and its core, where does it hang out in your life? And the answer is in your heart. Where in your heart? Your heart has a right side, a left side. It's in the left side of your heart, which is full of blood. Because blood is your energy, your life. So the animal soul is dwelling in the blood. Your blood is circulating to every part of your body from the left side of your heart. And it's rooted spiritually in the forces of darkness which hide godliness, which are called klippa. Just like there's is that a tangerine on the table? Hold it up. So the tangerine has a peel. The peel hides the fruit. So these forces of selfishness originate in a spiritual force that's called metaphorically the peels, like the banana peel. You can't eat it. The peels, you peel a carrot before you cook it. You peel a potato. So on the level of peels, that's where the animal soul gets its strength from the spiritual level called peels. And what we're saying in the banany, the animal soul in the left side of the heart, which comes from the spiritual level called peels, which in Hebrew is klippa, it never gets pushed out of the heart. It remains in the heart, even after 25 years of learning Hasidus and Machon Liyadus, it's just as strong as ever. But when the banany davens to Hashem and says Shema and Shmon Esrei, then he has control over it. But afterwards, he loses the control and it comes charging back to reassert itself in his life with new suggestions of new foolishness, new foolish things to do. And a friend comes over to him and says, have I got a great idea for you? You got to try this out. Don't you listen. And when somebody tells you, you could trust me, you know, your mother probably taught you, when someone says to you, you could trust me, don't believe them. Shana Bracha didn't come. Miriam isn't here. Gabriella Lowe